The numbers didn't lie, but for Ferrari's engineers, they didn't make any sense either. In Sector 2 of most tracks, the section with medium speed corners, Charles Leclerc was always the king. This was his zone, his strength, the part of the track where he created gaps, built advantages, and left teammates behind. Over the years, drivers like Sebastian Vettel, Carlos Sainz, and even Kimi Räikkönen had tried to match him in that area. None of them succeeded. Sector 2 was where Charles proved he belonged in red. But then Lewis Hamilton arrived, and everything changed. What Hamilton did wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. It was subtle, controlled. He was going deeper into braking. Zones not recklessly, but with smooth, calculated precision. His inputs were clean, his corner entry calm, and his exits sharp. While Leclerc was known for throwing the car into corners and adjusting mid-turn, Hamilton was doing the opposite. He was arriving later, turning less, correcting nothing, and exiting faster, and he was doing it repeatedly. When the engineers at Maranello first saw the data from Shanghai, they thought it was a glitch. They ran the simulation again. Then again, the numbers kept coming back the same. Hamilton was braking 3 to 5 meters later than Charles and still hitting the apex. Without a single lockup, it didn't fit the model. But in Formula One, when the data is real, but the model can't explain it, you don't ignore the driver. You question the model. This was a shock for Ferrari, their simulator, their setups. Their entire car philosophy had been tuned to Charles Leclerc's style. For years, Leclerc was the control variable in their system. His input shaped everything from brake maps to energy recovery deployment. He was the reference. Then Hamilton arrived and suddenly, the system was no longer enough. The data from Shanghai was the beginning, then came Imola, then Canada, in every race. Hamilton's braking traces showed something remarkable. He wasn't just fast, he was rewriting what the team thought was physically possible with this car. His brake inputs were so smooth that there was no loss of balance, no weight transfer chaos, no lockups or oversteer, just pure grip and control. One engineer reportedly said, "We've built this car around Charles, and Lewis just broke it." But it wasn't said with frustration or anger. It was said with awe. Because Hamilton wasn't complaining. He wasn't asking for the team to change anything. He was just driving in a way the car wasn't designed to accept, and doing it better than anyone expected. This kind of performance has a deep effect on a team. It changes conversations. Inside the debrief room, it changes how the engineers think. Suddenly, people weren't starting meetings with "according to Charles." They were beginning with "based on what Lewis felt." And that kind of shift doesn't come from words. It comes from results. Charles Leclerc, to his credit, noticed. He pushed harder. In Baku, he tried to break deeper into turn 3, tried to match Hamilton's approach. He missed the apex, lost time. In the race, he played it safe, gave up track position. That's not a car issue. That's mental pressure. That's the effect of a teammate changing the rhythm of a team. Hamilton, meanwhile, stayed silent. No demands, no public comments, no drama. He just drove, and the telemetry told the story. Engineers began adjusting brake migration settings not for Leclerc, but for Hamilton. Brake maps were renamed. In Montreal, a new profile quietly appeared on the dashboard. MapLaw. No one needed to explain what it meant. Ferrari was beginning to shift not because of politics, but because of performance. This wasn't just Hamilton adapting to Ferrari. It was Hamilton forcing Ferrari to adapt to him. Without asking, without needing to, he made the car his through execution. And as the engineers watched, they realized something shocking. The car was never built for him, but it was working better in his hands. That's what stunned them most. Inside the Ferrari garage, this created tension because at Ferrari, history matters. And at Ferrari, Leclerc has been more than a driver. He's been the project, the golden child. The system was built around him, and now that system was bending towards someone else, slowly, quietly, but clearly. Ferrari has always respected talent, but comparisons to Michael Schumacher are rare and sacred. And yet, after reviewing Hamilton's braking patterns, one lead engineer who worked during the Schumacher era whispered something unthinkable. "I haven't seen brake control like this since Michael. And Maranello, that's not a compliment. That's a revolution." What truly shook the team wasn't that Hamilton could do it once. It's that he kept doing it, on different tracks, with different tire compounds. In different temperatures. He didn't need ideal conditions. his skill was the condition, his control was repeatable. Hamilton's strength comes from feel. He reads the track, he adjusts in real time. He senses the wind, the temperature, the grip. His braking isn't fixed, it adapts. He changes pressure based on the smallest shift in weight. He adjusts the car's balance with his feet, not with the steering wheel. These aren't things you can simulate. These aren't things you can teach. They are instinct. For Leclerc, this was more than a challenge. It was a shock to the system. Because Ferrari's data tools, their maps, their simulations, they were all created in his image. Now, that image was being questioned, rewritten, and replaced. This isn't a story about one driver being better than another. It's about what happens when belief inside a team begins to shift. In Formula One, that belief is everything. And when it starts to move toward someone else, it rarely comes back. At the same time, another story was unfolding across the paddock. Oscar Piastri's refusal to accept team orders at McLaren. That decision, too, sent waves through the sport. Piastri, still early in his career, flatly refused to discuss any plan that would prioritize him over his teammate. No politics, no games, just a statement. I'm not willing to enter those talks at all. This wasn't just bold. It was almost reckless. Piastri was leading the championship. With Max Verstappen slowly gaining ground, McLaren had finally built a car that could win. And now, instead of protecting his lead, Piastri was opening the door for Lando Norris to challenge him freely, to take points, to possibly take the title. But maybe that was the point. Maybe Piastri understood something deeper. That loyalty, once earned, becomes more powerful than any order. By refusing to play politics, he wasn't making himself vulnerable. He was building trust. In the garage, on the pit wall, in every meeting. He wasn't asking the team to support him. He was making them want to. Still, McLaren was taking a massive risk. In a close title fight, every point matters. One bad call, one teammate tangle, and Verstappen would strike. He's done it before. He doesn't need mistakes. He just waits, and when the others fall, he takes the lead. McLaren's stance was noble, but risky, and the decision could define their season. If Piastri loses the title by a few points because they refuse to control their drivers, it will haunt them. But if he wins, it becomes a legacy, a statement that integrity still matters in Formula One, that honor can still win. Back at Ferrari, a different kind of storm was brewing. People kept asking why Hamilton was struggling in some races, why he wasn't beating Leclerc every weekend, why he looked uncomfortable at times. But those people were missing the real story. It wasn't about age. It wasn't about pace. It was about feel. James Vowles, one of the key architects of Hamilton's success at Mercedes, said it clearly. Lewis hasn't got the specific elements. He needs to feel strength from the car. That one line explained everything. Hamilton isn't a plug-and-play driver. He doesn't just jump in and go fast. He needs to feel connected to the car. At Mercedes, everything was built for him: throttle curves, brake maps, even the steering wheel layout. Every element responded to his instincts. At Ferrari, it's different. The car wasn't built for him. It speaks a different language, one that's not yet tuned to his frequency. Leclerc thrives in chaos. He drives through instability. He reacts. Hamilton doesn't. He plans. He flows. He choreographs. That's why the SF-5 feels strange to him. It's not because it's slow. It's because it doesn't talk to him the right way yet. But when it does, the shift will be massive. Because when Hamilton has trust in the car, he's not just fast. He's unstoppable. In Miami, he pushed Leclerc hard. In China, he won the sprint. The signs are there. The progress is real. It's just not complete. Vowles made another key point. When he's confident, he and Charles are this close.